And here on the Curvy Couch right now, we've got Representative Eric Cantor, the House Minority Whip. He's a Republican from Virginia. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
What did you think of the president yesterday? He said the buck stops here, Truman-esque. And then he also said, you know, no finger pointing. We heard that earlier. But does it sound like any heads are going to roll, or anybody's actually going to be held accountable for something that could have wound up ending 300 people's lives?
Steve, we're in New York City, okay? For God's sakes, this is about life and death.
Yeah.
And it is time for us and this administration to come to grips with the reality that we are at war. I mean, anybody that has traveled lately knows how nonsensical some of the things that you have to go through are if we're fighting a war on terror.
Sure.
Why does somebody like Joan Rivers get thrown off a plane when we've got terrorists riding these planes looking to blow them up over our cities?
Point.
Or my 4-year-old getting a pat-down coming home from an international trip. Doesn't seem to make sense. But here's my question that I want to get answered today, and so far nobody will answer it. Should the President of the United States know on the first day after the Christmas bombing attempt that it's an act of terror?
Gretchen, you better believe it, okay? You better believe we ought to be as good as any or better than that in trying to secure this country. And, you know, there was a serious breakdown. And there are some things that we can do. The president says we're going to have smart, sensible screening at airports. Well, you know what? I hope so. It's about time. But look, if anybody's flown El Al lately, look at what they do.
They've been doing it right for decades.
There is not a passenger that boards those planes that they don't know everything possible about. And that's what we got to do. That's the scrutiny with which that our safety and security folks need to be employing right now.
Sure. You know, the White House is probably watching right now. They'd like to know your perspective. If you could give them some point of view or some guidance, what would you like to see them do regarding this?
Well, first of all, it is about, you know, casting aside this politically correct attitude that we've got to go and pat down 75-year-old grandmothers or 4-year-olds boarding planes. Okay, we've got to understand, just as most Americans do, that who's the problem here?
So you're talking profiling.
I'm talking...
Some form of profiling is okay with you.
I am talking about knowing where the problem comes from and addressing it by focusing on the threat.
But did you hear that yesterday?
No, you know what, Gretchen? I have heard for the last 10 or 11 months, you know, the unwillingness of this administration to call a terrorist, the unwillingness to even claim that we are at war with, you know, radical Islam, the state sponsors of terror. It is what it is.
And do you find it ironic that 1 year into this administration, the war on terror is back front and center?
I don't find it, unfortunately, I don't find it ironic. What I do find sitting here in New York City is people all of a sudden reawakening to the fact that we're at war.
Yeah, they did get the message this past week, though, and they are going to not send any more guys back to Gitmo. That's a step in the right direction.
To Yemen, you mean?
From Gitmo to Yemen.
But it begs the question here.
And we're not going to send anybody to Gitmo.
But you've got this city now poised to host this trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
Sure.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, not to mention the security risk here. For what? How does that increase the security of our country?
Why here? All right.
A lot of questions still unanswered. Congressman Eric Cantor, the House Minority Whip. Great to see you in person.
Great to be here.
Thanks for joining us.